What is up on a Thursday? Welcome to Take This, a sports podcast where we talk about sports because that is what you do on a sports podcast. Griff, how the heck are you?
I'm good. You know what, Brad? The Red Wings are doing well.
That's great.
So I'm doing
great.
That
is good. That is so good.
And Michigan didn't play, and the Lions got spanked by the other Big Cat team, one of the other Big Cat teams. So I'm going to choose to look at the positive and say, hey, the Red Wings are a really fun and really fun hockey team to watch this year, and are going to be interesting. And it looks like the talent we have drafted through with Yzerman is starting to pan out, and it looks like we're going to be back in the playoffs, playoff hunt within the next few years. So at least I have that.
What's interesting is
versus all the other garbage.
The Red Wings have a better record than Tampa Bay right now.
Yes, and honestly, we should have beaten them, but we at least got the point for overtime.
Yeah,
that game was
so
was a mess.
Infuriating. The fact that it was on opening night.
It was infuriating for, don't get me wrong, the Wings did not play well at times. The giving up 2-3 goal leads is something you can't do. But, and we gave up it was 40-something shots. You can't do that and expect to win, especially against a team like Tampa. But the real killer was that one of the first 3-goal lead they blew was when Dylan Larkin got the match ejection for punching Joseph in the face after Joseph boarded him into the boards, and it wasn't called. And that in a 5-minute major is unlike a 2-minute minor, where if you score on a 5-minute major, the penalty doesn't end. So you have to play the whole 5 minutes shorthanded. And they scored 2 goals on it. So it was so there was a lot of things wrong. And man, this is an aside. We won't deep dive into this. We might in a later episode if the NHL and their player safety committee does not get their shit together. But in the 3 games the Wings have played, there have been 4 boarding hits that have happened that have not been called. The one on Larkin. Later in the game, there was a hit on Rasmussen on last Saturday against Vancouver. There was a boarding call that should have been called. And then last night, probably the worst one, the Wings are going against Columbus. And I forget the Columbus player who it was, but they hit Raymond, who is Detroit's, him and Moritz Seider are our 2 young guys, rookies, playing in their first year in the NHL together, and they're supposed to be the future stars of the game. Raymond gets his first goal of his career in the game earlier, and then he gets checked from behind, square in the numbers, right into the boards. He eats the glass, and it's not called. And then Tyler Bertuzzi goes down and says, "Hey, fuck you, bud," and roughs him. He grabs him and tries to fight him, and Bertuzzi gets the 2-minute penalty for roughing. And here's the thing: Bertuzzi doesn't have to retaliate if the penalty is called. If the penalty is called, Bertuzzi's going to say, "All right, I don't like the hit, but I'm going to take the penalty." And Raymond had to go off. He left the game at that point and had to go get into concussion protocol. He did not have a concussion, thankfully, but it's his 3rd game in the National Hockey League, and you're putting him at severe risk by letting those penalties slide. And yet Dylan Larkin gets a game suspension for punching a guy after he was boarded by said guy. And I'm not trying to, I get it. I know Larkin didn't put himself in the best position with that, but the NHL said they wanted to crack down on boarding, they need to then do it. They need to follow through, because it's happened to the Wings a few times already this year, and I think only one of those 4 have been called for anything. So,
yeah, I think I was
NHL
watching
player
one
safety.
game where something
Please
was called.
do something.
And it's weird because I mean you talk about it I was just watching the.
It was called. I remember it was called for the
cross
check,
what it was.
not for the boarding.
That's what it was.
Which they are trying to crack down on cross checks too.
But it's a dirty
specifically
play.
because of what happened Dylan Larkin last year.
And so like, because I mean, we talk about it all the time about how like the NFL sucks, you know. One thing it's so interesting to me though too, because like NFL officials and college football officials get it wrong so many times for like the other reasons. Like we know that college football is like we're trying to prevent the concussions, right? But like there's some common sense that needs to go into it, and I feel like that's what we're missing.
I think, yeah, and I think the reason, like,
we're overcompensating.
You're right. Football is trying to overcompensate for all the safety issues,
and then the NHL,
and they also like. There's also a lot more subjectivity in football calls, I feel like, whereas hockey, I mean, there's not a lot of like technical, like interference is like one of the few like technical, like interference is like to me the equivalent of like pass interference in football because of just how, you know, how they function. It's a little bit subjective of like, what was that enough to define interference? But most of hockey's penalties are like pretty. Did you hit someone with your stick?
Right. Well,
like, did you cross check?
And there's a lot more subjectivity in football too, because even like it's even as something as simple as just the nature of all the penalties. Like if someone's holding, for example, that's easy to identify. You know, or you know, whereas like, or face masking, that's easy to identify, but there aren't very many easy to identify things like roughing the passer. Like, how do we know? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there was a roughing the passer call in the Michigan
honestly,
State game.
Honestly, I think like even like roughing the passer is pretty subjective, but I also think it's a pretty easy one.
It is. I mean, late hits are pretty.
Figure out
late hits are
what
pretty
they're
easy
doing
too.
this year. Like, I think it's ridiculous that, like, if a forearm grazes the quarterback's helmet while reaching to try and tackle him, like, that's like it's like, oh, if you hit anywhere on the quarterback's head or neck area, it's a roughing the passer. But I'm like, if I put my arm up to block his throw and it comes down and it grazes his helmet, it probably hurt my forearm more. That shouldn't be a penalty. And I know, like, this is nothing new. I think a lot of people, like, I don't think anyone likes these penalties. Just like no one likes taunting.
Well, right.
And I understand the NFL, like, the taunting penalties are stupid, are dumb.
Because you're a professional. You're literally a professional athlete. Like, how is that a thing? Like, what are we doing?
Protecting the quarterback is, like, I at least see the business side of that, though, right? Because the quarterback is the most valuable position for the teams. It's also the most marketable, like Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, all the ads they're in and all the branding they do for football. I understand the business side of it. That's why they have put such an emphasis on protecting the quarterback specifically. Right. But it still drives me nuts. Like if you want to say, okay, you can't put the body weight on him, whatever. But like the thing where it's like if you graze the helmet with the arm, it's just ridiculous. So, yeah. Anyway, this wasn't supposed to turn into a rant. Brad, I'm doing good. Let's talk a little bit of football predictions for the week upcoming. We got NCAA football. This is week 8, 9, 8,
something like that. I don't know. So yeah, let's do.
It's so weird with NCAA because like different bye weeks happen and all that.
So it's a weird week.
It's week 8.
It's a weird week for college football. Okay, so we got no ranked matchups. There are 0 ranked versus ranked teams playing. No big game. No big game this week.
Gotta pick with the points.
Right. So. Anyway, it's probably, you know what? Well, I don't know. Anyway, so I picked three big ones. The first one I want to talk about especially elaborately, sort of. It's Iowa State against Oklahoma State. Iowa State at home. Okay, that's I think the big thing that we got to keep in mind.
Very
3:30 p.m. on Fox. 3:30 Eastern on Fox. Iowa State is not the ranked team. They are 4-2. And both these teams are in the Big 12, right? Both these teams, Big 12 teams. Iowa State is 4-2. Oklahoma State is 6-0 and number 8 in the country. But Iowa State is a 7-point favorite in this game, despite being unranked, 4-2. They're only, to be fair, Iowa State's only played one ranked team, and it was against Iowa. I also don't think that Iowa State had the opportunity to play another ranked team because there was a game against Baylor or maybe not actually, because after Iowa State lost to Baylor, that is what made that is what gave Baylor a ranking, actually, because Baylor was unranked and they beat Iowa State, who was number 14 at the time. Right. And Iowa State, that was kind of the moment where we figured out what exactly Iowa State was. Like, they weren't a legitimate team. But Iowa, they had lost to originally, that was a big matchup, number 10 Iowa. That they lost to. But so anyway, again, like, I don't know how you don't pick like Oklahoma State to cover this spread, because I'm not saying that I'm not saying that Oklahoma State will win or Iowa State will win. Like, I'm saying that Oklahoma State will cover the game. Like,
right, you're saying they're going to cover the
right, because it
seven.
seems inevitable that they will. And I don't like to give betting advice, but I just look at this thing and I'm like, how do you not? Because like if I had to guess, this is going to be a close game. I don't know who's going to win, but I know it's going to be a close game. And if I had to guess, the score is going to be by like 3. And guess what 3 is? 3 is less than 7. So I'm pretty sure that Oklahoma State will cover the spread. I don't know, like, there's nothing easier. It's like a Capital One commercial. There's no decision that's easier than picking this game. That's my big thing for this week. I just don't understand. Okay. I don't understand that game. I can't understand why. Like 3-point favorite, I get it, but 7, just so crazy.
Yeah, Iowa State's a tough place to play, and they play tough. Like, they're a team that, like, their offense is going to do well against, a Big 12 defense, and their defense is going to cause Oklahoma State to sputter, which is where I think that that 7 points comes from. I do agree with you, though. I like taking Oklahoma
and
State
Oklahoma State is
to at least cover,
coming.
If not,
I mean, Oklahoma State's coming off of 3 ranked wins. Like, I know that they were kind of back end.
Well, and you got to remember, in Vegas, the other thing that runs what a point spread is, it's not actually how good they think the team is, it's betting trends.
Exactly.
So it's what, like, the spread is determined by what people are betting on. If a spread started, like, let's say that spread started at -4, or Iowa State was favored by 4 points, and everyone, all the money and all the people, because there's like 2 metrics to look at, but whatever one has the most money and whichever one has the most people, because like the people are the general public, where the heavy money is, that's like the professional bettors.
Right.
But if they see all the money and all the people are going towards one end, that's what causes a spread to move. So it's not really actually a determination
which
of
team is
what it should be. It's what the betting trends are and what the public. Now, granted, a lot of that money is coming from smart bettors, as smart as you can be as a professional bettor. So, but these are people, like, that's their livelihood, and they do well with it because they use the math a lot of the time. So that's what a lot of it is. I mean, Vegas has the best mathematicians in the world. That's why they always win.
Right.
So, but no, I like the pick.
So
I like
the other two I got
Clemson
real quick
and Pittsburgh.
Yes, I got Clemson and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's ranked number 23, by the way. Pittsburgh is turning heads. I haven't seen Pittsburgh this good since they hired me in NCAA 14 to lead their dynasty. That is the last time that I saw Pittsburgh do anything, and that's back before they had their new uniforms. So, Pittsburgh's really turning some heads. They're a 3-point favorite. I think that Pittsburgh wins by 10, 7, whatever. More than 3, if you're good at math. And it's a home game for Pittsburgh. Easy bet. I'm going to do another easy bet for you. Purdue money line against Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a 3-point favorite against number 25 Purdue. Now, if you were me, okay, you immediately saw Purdue on the ranked, like, Purdue was number 25 this week, okay? You immediately saw this game, and you thought, what the fuck? And I immediately Google searched, when was the last time Purdue was ranked? And it immediately gave me an answer. Google gave me an answer of 2007. So they have not been ranked since 2007. And I don't know about you, but that sounds like a long time ago. They're going to win this game against Wisconsin. I got them winning the game, money line bet. That's all. That's all I got.
All right. Hey, that's fair.
My master betting skills are really coming out. I'm on a hot streak, so I got to keep this going.
See, I'm surprised you took money line because, plus 136 isn't that bad of odds if you're going to put money on it.
I guess. I don't know.
But
dude, I don't know.
It's
one time I used to play Texas Hold'em with my parents. I had no idea what money was, how it worked, how poker worked at the time. But I made a shit ton of money that night. It was a good time. So I just go. You got to go big or go home, right?
So
just luck.
I'm taking. Here's my games. I also have Wisconsin Purdue because I think this is probably one of the more important matches. Because here's the thing: after the Iowa loss, Wisconsin can win the Big Ten West, and so can Minnesota. You'll notice two of the games I have here: Wisconsin at Purdue, and Maryland at Minnesota. If these teams win out, they control their own destiny to make the Big Ten West champion. So I thought I'm picking both of these teams to not only win, but to cover. I understand Purdue, what they just did to Iowa. I understand that they are also home again for this game. But I think I really think that Wisconsin, now that they have control over their own destiny to win the Big Ten West, that's a big deal. I think that gives them the motivation to go in and play. I think their defense is still very good. I know their quarterback is dog shit, but they can run the ball, and I think they can do that to Purdue. So I'm going to take Wisconsin, the points here. And then the same thought process for Minnesota and Maryland. I love Minnesota. I love PJ Fleck. They've had a rough year this year, unfortunately. But again, they're still in a position to win the Big Ten West. So for that reason, in Maryland, I loved Maryland. I loved Tua's little brother. And I thought the team was fun. I thought they were going to have a decent year. It just kind of has deflated, especially ever since the Iowa game. And I think Minnesota comes out and easily covers the 5.5 here. Although 5.5 is one of the scarier numbers in spreads. 4.5 is the devil's number when it comes to spreads, which you took a Michigan State team 4.5 point favorites last week and won. But guess what they won by? 5. So got a little lucky there, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas is always right?
They're always right. Always right. And then we got Oregon at UCLA. Oregon being given a 1.5. And I want to double check and make sure that's still the case. It is. FanDuel Sportsbook still has Oregon getting a 1.5, which seems crazy to me because Oregon, don't they have they lost another game and I just not realized it? Am I a bad sports podcast host? I don't believe they have. Let's see here.
No, they want they're
still the 10th ranked team in the country. They have the one loss to Stanford in OT. Not that it's a good loss, but at least it wasn't a blowout. I don't know why they're being given a 1.5 to UCLA. Who are they? They're not. I forget if they're ranked.
UCLA, no.
No, not ranked.
No, and Oregon also
to me and
is. I mean, I don't know. For what it's worth, ESPN's FPI matchup predictor has them at 53%, so they have them winning.
Yeah. So, but again, we all know betting spreads are not based on actual outcome.
No.
So, I'm gonna take Oregon here because here's the thing too. We're gonna talk about this a little later in the show with how the college football playoff landscape is turning out. I think we know 3 of the teams that will be in, but that 4th slot could be like one of like 5 or 6 teams, depending on how things shake out. So all of these teams, they might not control their own destiny in terms of like, oh, if you win out, you're in. But winning out at least gives them a chance to get in. So I think that's even more motivation for teams. Like I said, I don't think Wisconsin or Minnesota, even if they get in the Big Ten championship, and let's say they somehow won it against like Ohio State, I don't think they will. But even if they did, they're probably not going to the college football playoff. But to go to Indy is a big deal. And for Oregon, going to the Pac-12 championship and winning it is a big deal. And if you are a one-loss Pac-12 champion, beating Ohio State, and if they get in, there's an argument to be made that it should be them. So, for those reasons, I'm taking Oregon in the 1.5. All right, Brad. I want to jump right into the college football stuff, but we gotta finish the picks. By the way, I don't know if we said this. Brad is currently winning 20 points to 11 to me. Even with the Texas A&M big dick pick that he had, where he gained 6 points on one pick, 'cause he was I gave it to him because you're gonna take the money line on like a 16-point underdog. I'm giving you the plus 600, which is equivalent to 6 points. So. I gotta give it to him. But even without that, he would still be 4 points ahead of me if it was just a point win for that. So Brad's doing very well. I'm doing, I would say, mediocre. So, but I think I'm gonna catch up a little bit this week. All right, Broncos at Browns. See, this is a game where I want to go crazy on the result. I'm close to doing it, even though it's again. So, Browns, Case Keenum is your starting quarterback. Both of your Pro Bowl running backs are out. Jarvis Landry is out. Some of your playmakers on defense are out. They're only favored by 1.5 points. I think, and I also have Cortland Sutton in fantasy, so I'm hoping for a big game from him, because this is the bye week from hell. I'm going Broncos. And here's the thing. I want the Browns to be successful. I'm in a subreddit called Lake Erie Bros, and it's Lions, Browns, and Bills fans, because our 3 teams are all on Lake Erie, but we also, all of our teams have had kind of a history of failure. And so we all kind of collectively, I think teams that lose a lot root for each other. So, there's a reason I've always kind of Lions are always my number 1, but I've always rooted for the Browns and the Bills and the Chargers as my secondary teams, because I like their logos and their players, and again, they've shared in our pain. So I don't want the Browns to lose, because again, they're kind of like that secondary team. I want them to succeed, but I kind of want them to lose this week, because I want Case Keenum to look like a dumpster fire, and for people to see that Baker Mayfield is not like the biggest issue the Browns have. He's not like a top 5 quarterback, but he is a very good quarterback, and he's a great game manager. He's probably not worth a shit ton of money, so paying him is a difficult decision, which I get, but he's not as bad as everyone makes him out to be. It's just because he's a big personality, and some people like that and some people don't. So, Brad, who you got?
Yeah.
Did I change your mind? Did I change your mind?
I could not go. You
couldn't pick Case Keenum to win it, could you?
No, why would I do that? Because
I do find it very funny that it's Case Keenum and Teddy Bridgewater, who were both on the Vikings.
Yeah, that is crazy.
The year that Keenum had is that insane year where he took the Vikings to the playoffs.
Well,
it's crazy to think that Teddy Bridgewater was also on that team.
Well, I think
so
this week's
Teddy.
weird for me. I think specifically because I haven't been keeping up with anything related to sports, just because of just the amount of shit that's happening. You know how life is.
Yeah,
so
100%.
I didn't know that Baker Mayfield was out. until
well,
just now.
To be fair, that got announced. It got literally
did
announced
it?
today.
Okay, yeah, I could not know. So yeah, it's gonna be have to be a Broncos for me, because I was like, at first, like, this seems like easy, you know, but like, God, that's such a terrible game, because I mean, I don't want to take chances on Keenum, you know.
No, and like, don't get me wrong, Teddy Two Gloves is not the greatest quarterback, but I like him more than Keenum. And
well, at that point, it's a toss-up.
You know, here's the weird thing about the Broncos. You look at like who they have. You got Jerry Jeudy, you got Tim Patrick, you got Noah Fant, and you got Cortland Sutton. That's a very good receiver / tight end group. You have a great rookie in Javonte Williams. You have a great, a pretty good third down / receiving back in Melvin Gordon. And like, don't get me wrong, Teddy Bridgewater's not an elite quarterback, but yeah, he can get it done. And then you have like Bradley Chubb and Von Miller on your defense. Like, the Broncos feel like a team that should be like, they are honestly the definition of like one QB away from like, I think, being like, you put Stafford on the Broncos, that team is like, they could win the AFC or win at least that division, especially with how bad well, it's a tough division too.
I mean, you look at all their like games.
Like you look at like on paper, the team seems like they should be better. So I think the Broncos, even though they've lost the last few weeks, I think they're a little better than maybe even the record.
Like, look at this. Look at this. So, like, you look at the Broncos' schedule. They played the Giants, the Jags, the Jets, the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Raiders. Okay. What's their average points per game? Hang on. Like, I'm looking at a couple things. Their average points per game is 21. They're outscoring their opponents. The 21 to 18.3. And they're doing that with a backup. Like, basically, like, essentially, like, would you agree that like Teddy Bridgewater, any other team, backup QB?
Yeah.
Mean, right.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
that's not
he's
a
not.
testament.
He's honestly like, he's Geno Smith. Like, those two are archetypally or archetypical. I don't know what the right word is. But they're very similar.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You put Stafford, or you put Brady, you put Aaron Rodgers like on that team, and firepower. They could win the AFC West.
Absolutely. So, all right, moving on. We got Bengals at Ravens.
No doubt. I was quick last week to go Bengals against Lions. I was quick with that one, and I'm quick with this one too. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yep. I mean, I took Lions. That was foolish. I mean, look at me. I'm wearing a Lions shirt right now. Like, I will always love this team, even if they're dog shit. Like, I'm not selling the boat on Dan Campbell. I can't judge a lot from this, you know. Like, like I said 2 weeks ago against the Vikings, he had called a perfect game in terms of like managing the game, clock management, certain play calls, punting on certain downs versus going for the 2 point at the end of the game, all of that stuff. And so like, I think he can be a coach. It's just like, and the only reason I picked him is because like this team plays hard for him, but man, I think they just got so deflated early because of how awful, like, the defense held up. Like, that defense is one where you need the offense to keep them off the field. You need the offense to have long drives, sustainable drives to keep your defense fresh, because the defense did well in the first half. I mean, a few blown coverages here and there, but they had a turnover. They had only held them to like 17 points, and they were on the field for like 2/3, if not more, of the half. And then obviously in the second half, the wheels just fell off even more due to, again, they just get burned out. Like, you know, and that's the only way this defense will do anything is if you keep them off the field, and they didn't do that. So it was kind of over from the start. I mean, you got Jared Goff throwing the ball away on a 4th down.
I mean, did you see,
idiot. I hate baby hands.
God,
Goff,
did you
dude.
see the Tennessee game, the end of that game? and I know this is college, but
when Josh Allen slipped.
No. So when it's the end of the Tennessee game and they had a chance to win. God, I gotta pull who the hell were they playing? It was week 7. But it really reminded me sort of that thing. Because when Goff did this on 4th down, it really reminded me, and this happened like the day before. Tennessee was playing Ole Miss, and Tennessee had a chance to win the game, and then all of a sudden, fucking they were on. I think it was like the 30-something, 40-something. Like they were in like the Ole Miss territory, and they were about to all they had to do was like they could have thrown a touchdown. They could have they just had to air it to the end zone. I think it was like 4th down at the end of the game. Like usually you see like a Hail Mary or like the laterals, like the never ending play or whatever. And like Joe Milton ends up fucking running it on 4th down with a second to go. Like he just QB run. Just QB run. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even that there was like not a second to go. I mean, it was the end of the game. Like it was still the end of the game. Like even if he had thrown it and time hadn't expired, like it would have been over. But like the play went with like 5 seconds to go. They snapped the ball. He couldn't find anyone. Just fucking toss it to the end zone. Anything can happen at that point. Dude runs it. And I just could not get over that. It was the worst play I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. But anyway.
Yeah, so to bring it back to Bengals, I think the Bengals are pretty good. But, man, Lamar Jackson's all that in a bag of chips, man. He's so good. And even though there's a lot of injuries on that team and they've lost their left tackle, Lions, Taylor Decker, please send him away. Nothing against Taylor Decker. He's a pretty good left tackle, but he's probably not going to play this year because of a finger injury. And it's a very weird situation with that. With like, it was a finger injury that was supposed to put him out for a few weeks, and now it's like he might be back this weekend, or he could be shut down for the year. And it seems like there's something more at play. And I get it. Finger injuries are a big deal for linemen because you're doing so much. There's a lot of hand movement there with your blocking technique. There's pawing at guys. There's, not holding, but, being able to get your hands on them and and if you have a hurt finger to put your hand into that and risk re-injury. I get all that, but it just seems like a weird situation. I would love to send him to a team that needs a tackle, especially a team like the Ravens who are in a win now mode, man. And with Lamar, they could do it. So anyway, I think I got to pick the Ravens. Just it's too good of a team. Like Lamar just makes up for any deficiencies that are on that team, like their running back issues and all that. Yeah, man, I love the Bengals. I love our big cats, but I just don't think they're there yet. I think next year the Bengals will really be a force. All right, Falcons at Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Brad,
so
who
we
you
got
got?
Dolphins. Mostly, and again, this is kind of a 2-for-1. So mostly because Tua is on my fantasy team now. So
yeah, Justin Herbert's on the bye for both.
So
of us.
the reason why I decided to get Tua is specifically because he's playing the Falcons. The fuck am I trying to say?
It's a great team, and he looked great last week. I don't care what anyone says. Tua looked 300 yards, 1 interception, couple touchdowns,
and I'm banking on him doing good. So
he looked good. There's a lot of Tua hate, and I don't really get it where it comes from. I know he after like his first game or like his first win last year, he had said, "Oh, this is easy," blah blah blah. He won. He had some swagger. I don't give a shit. Yeah. And then he got humbled. Congrats. Don't get me wrong. He's been far from perfect, but I think he's a much better quarterback than people realize, especially when you realize Dolphins have a dog shit offensive line. So for those reasons, give me the Fins with Tua, especially with all these trade rumors with Deshaun Watson. They could turn into something bad or be a distraction, but I think it'll be fine. I'm not too worried about it, at least this week. Give me the Dolphins. All right, Saints at Seahawks. Brad, I'm going to be straight with you, man. I got the Saints. I don't trust Geno Smith to be a quarter. You know, he's been very good, and that let me point that out. He's been very, very good. And you know, what was his name? Alex Collins, who's the backup running back for the Seahawks, who is currently playing because the backfield for the Seahawks is on IR. He's also been very serviceable. And they obviously the Hawks have a pretty good receiving core as well with Metcalf and Lockett. But man, that defense is not good. I think you got a player like Jameis, even though he's a turnover machine, that offense is explosive. They've been explosive all year. And, you know, the defense, I think both of these teams' weaknesses are defenses. So it's great for me because I have Alvin Kamara in fantasy and you have DK Metcalf. So, hey, man, we're rooting for a shootout, at least a high point game, get some fantasy. But I think the Saints end up with the W at the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who do you have, Brett?
I'm sorry. I didn't say it. Seahawks. I got Seahawks. I'm just rolling with that.
Which is fair. Like, listen, Geno Smith looks very good, and I do wonder if this will be a situation like after maybe this week or the week after, like the tape gets out, you know, so it like makes him like people figure him out, right? This happens with a lot of backups. They look great for a few games, and then the tape gets out and people figure them out, and then they go back to being the caliber they're at.
Right.
But he's only played a game and a half,
right?
So there's not a lot of tape on him yet. So he very well still could perform well. And like I said, he's got good receivers. His biggest issue is the offensive line, but we will see. And that is who you got. All right, I alluded to this a little earlier. Let's talk about college football now. The landscape of it. What's going on with certain teams, certain conferences, and what are we looking at for our playoff and Heisman predictions. So, Brad, I'll let you start with some of these questions here.
So, first one we got Clemson. First things first. Going to win over under 7 wins this year.
What's their current record?
4-2.
I gotta look at their remaining schedule. Hold on. That's because to me, so it's going to be a mainly conference play, I assume. Pittsburgh, I don't think they win that game. Florida State, I don't know if they win that game. They need to win 3.
Yeah, they do. They need 3
Wake
games.
Forest, I don't think they beat Wake. Like, they'd have to beat Louisville, Connecticut, and South Carolina.
They'll beat Connecticut. They
yeah.
will beat Connecticut. Connecticut was just they were an underdog to an FCS school. How the fuck do you manage that? You got to be high to be that bad. Like, you got to be
it's not
so
good.
bad. Oh my god, it is so rough. But yeah, they beat UConn. I know they'll beat UConn. Everyone will beat UConn.
Sure, like they got the UConn.
That's the one game they have.
No, I think they can win. Like, they're bad, but like,
yeah,
they're gonna they can beat some of these teams. I'll say they get to 7.
Yeah,
7 is it? Yeah, if it's under over like. So when you say under over 7 will be a push. Like, are we saying 6.5? Which means, you know, if they win 7, I win kind of deal.
I don't know. I don't make the rules.
I'll say so. I think they get to 7 flat. I think they can get there.
Guess.
They might even.
I guess 8. Yeah. So if they get to 7, if they get to 7, that wouldn't be over or under. But you can't say that. Like, what are the chances? I think what are the chances of like 7's not allowed. Okay? Like, what are the chances that they get to 8 or 6? Like, which one's higher?
Sorry, say that
So
one more
if
time?
they let me put it this way, okay? What are the chances of them getting to 8 higher than the chances of them getting to 6?
Well, the chances of them getting to 6 are a lot higher because.
Okay, I'm sorry.
6 is easier
I
to get to.
phrased that horribly. What are the chances?
Are they more likely to only win 6 or only
Yes,
win
thank
8?
you.
Okay, no, that makes no. I got you. I after I thought about it, I'm like, he probably means
said
this.
that off.
I will
terribly wrong.
say, I'm gonna say they're. Let me look at their schedule.
So we got Pittsburgh, Florida State, Louisville, UConn, Wake Forest, and South Carolina. I feel like Pittsburgh
there's
and
3
Wake Forest
losses.
are automatic L's. Florida State is
I
a
think
toss-up.
Florida State is almost an automatic L, which would mean they'd have.
They
to,
almost lost
can't
to
get to 8.
Syracuse. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's. I think they would be more likely to only win 6 as opposed to 8.
Yeah, I mean, if I were you, I'd have to take
But
the
I
under.
think they get to 7.
think they
I
get
think
to
they get to
7,
7.
okay.
I
Yeah.
think that's their magic
fair.
number this year. And listen, like, you know what's really crazy, though? This team only lost by 7 to Georgia.
Yeah, I saw that. I was very surprised because
I look back at that score and I go, Jesus.
Well, and I think a lot of that has to do with their defense. Like, their defense has been pretty good.
Yeah.
Except for the NC State game, really. Like, the only game where they gave up more than 20 points is that game. And that was in double OT, so that's probably why. Like, the reason
Right.
why is because it was in double OT. You know?
Yeah.
Because if you look at the box score for that game, like, oh my god, it doesn't even fucking tell me. That's stupid. Yeah. Oh yeah. So here we go. Yeah. So it was 21-14 at the. Oh, it was 21-21 at the end of the fourth quarter. NC State had just scored a touchdown, and then after OT, NC State scored. I remember I was watching this game. NC State scores a touchdown, and then Clemson cannot answer. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, I think a lot of that has to do with their defense. Like, their defense is in a good spot right now. But, like, you know, that's really what's going to have to carry this team is their defense.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Brad, important questions all around
yeah.
here. Big Ten questions. Who wins the East? Who wins the West? Who wins the Big Ten title?
So I put them on here right now, just for reference. And again, we're going by because obviously to win the conference, you have to have the best conference record, correct? So that's worth mentioning. Now, 4 teams in the Big Ten East are pretty much have chances. Okay, so Michigan State is 4-0, Michigan is 3-0, Ohio State is 3-0, Penn State is 2-1. With that loss against Iowa. In the Big Ten West, it's really between Iowa, Minnesota, and Purdue. Wisconsin could, like, it's anyone's after the Iowa loss, it's pretty much anyone's division or whatever. So you could add Wisconsin in there. I don't think that Illinois or Nebraska are coming back. Obviously, Illinois is 1-3 and Nebraska's 1-4. Like, that's not a thing that's happening. And Northwestern is 1-2, but they are less likely. Like, they have such less valuable losses than Wisconsin does. Wisconsin's only losses are to ranked teams.
Yep. That's the big thing with them is like the value, if you can have a valuable loss,
they lost to Penn State, and obviously Penn State now is ranked number 7 with 1 loss or whatever it is.
Penn State, like, it's funny because everyone in the East has a chance to, like, basically a lot of the teams in the East control their own destiny for the most part.
Well, and the big thing for Wisconsin is I don't think that Wisconsin wins because their schedule is fucking rough. I think I talked to you about this, is that the 3 teams from the East that they play this year is Penn State, Michigan, and who's the other one? Do they play another one? Is Northwestern's not the East, is it?
No, that's the West.
Minnesota, no. Iowa, no. Purdue, no. So they only play 2? Is that the gist?
Sounds like I don't think there's another.
Perfect. So they only play Their only crossover games are against Michigan and Penn State. That's rough. That sucks. And then they have to, go with Purdue and Iowa. So that's not fun. I think that their schedule will be the detriment to themselves. I think the Purdue game is, again, kind of like a toss-up, even though I took them on the money line. Like, they're favored to win that game. So that could save their season. But then they'd have to beat Iowa in order to win the Big Ten. West, I should say. So, who do you got? Let's do that.
So for the East, we're talking about the East,
just do
right?
both.
Okay, yeah, okay. So I gotta say, I still think Iowa, most likely. I think they're the better team, easily. And I think they just have the more impressive. They've beaten Penn State. They've beaten, no one else crazy, but their loss was to a Purdue team that, they're scrappy, and it was in Purdue, and it was a bad loss. Right. I'm not going to say it wasn't. But I still think a one loss, I think they still make it. And then on the East, I mean, I'm a Michigan fan, man, and I want to be able to be like, go blue, baby, maize and blue Kool-Aid for. I can't. It's Ohio State, hands down. I mean, I would maybe argue Penn State, but thing is, I don't know if they have Clifford. Without Clifford, that's Penn State no, that's not happening. Without Clifford, Michigan State and Michigan could both beat Penn State. That is how much they need that quarterback. That's how important.
So remember how we're talking about teams that got
and Ohio State wins the Big Ten. Obviously.
So real quick, look at this. So you know how I was talking about how Wisconsin has an easy schedule. I mean a hard schedule. Sorry. Do you know who has an easy schedule? Minnesota. Who? Look at this. Their crossover games to the East are
Maryland's one of them because that's who they go against this week.
Maryland. And Indiana is who they have left. Indiana's East, right? Indiana's got to be East. Yeah, they're East. Because
yes, they are.
It's
weird.
Indiana,
Rutgers, and Maryland are all in the East. Basically, it's literally the Lake Michigan is the dividing line.
So Minnesota has Iowa remaining. Okay, I don't think they win that game. But here's the thing. I think Iowa wins the Big Ten West. I think that's not a question. I don't really have any concern about that. I think that Purdue might do a little bit, okay. But the issue with Purdue is, and I don't think that their win against Iowa was enough to get them ranked. I'm sorry, but I think that gets you into, receiving votes category, not ranked status, okay? So, because Purdue just lost 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago to Minnesota. They just lost to Minnesota. But Minnesota, their schedule, look at this. They played Ohio State week 1. Got that out of the way. And then the remaining schedule, look at this. Miami of Ohio, Colorado, Bowling Green, Purdue, Nebraska, Maryland, Northwestern, Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Wisconsin. That is just cakewalk right there. I think that Minnesota, and here's a strong prediction, is that Minnesota will go, 5-1 the rest of the schedule and finish in second place in the Big Ten West. So that is my prediction. They're not a great team, but I do think that Tanner Morgan's worth something still, and I didn't even know he was still there. He feels like he's been there forever. But I really do think that Minnesota has such an easy schedule that will end up carrying them until to the end. But I don't think they beat Iowa.
Yeah, that's fair.
Big Ten East, obviously, it's got to be Ohio State. I don't know how you don't think it's Ohio State. Ohio State looks vulnerable.
I hope. I'd love if both of our schools beat us. That'd be awesome for Michigan State.
Yeah.
What a great bounce back win after losing to Michigan. And no, I thought I'd get a reaction for that. But no, in all seriousness, like even whoever wins on October 30th between these two schools, like for either one of them to beat Ohio State would be huge because, I mean, beating Ohio State, if you beat Ohio State, you're probably going to Indy, which is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It just is.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State too, like I know they look vulnerable and they could lose another game. Like they could. Who do they play? Like still, hold on. That's actually a very good question. They have a pretty rough schedule ahead. They have 4 ranked teams to play. They have only played 1 so far. So, like, I know that we are, like, pretty much in agreement. Like, these teams that Ohio State's been playing and beating up on, like, I know that we said, like, Oregon, for example. And I feel like this might help Ohio State, that their schedule's backlogged. But, I mean, Michigan State's is too, right? But with Ohio State, like, they played Oregon, number 12, and until they play Penn State in a couple weeks, like, they got nothing there. But like, cause they've been playing since they played Oregon, they have beaten Tulsa 41-20. They beat Akron 59-7. They beat Rutgers 52-13. They beat Maryland 66-17. So this is kind of like reminding us of what Ohio State has always done. But these teams are ass. Like these aren't good teams. If they played like a Penn State, I could see Penn State sneaking away with a victory, especially if that was an away game, which it's not.
If Clifford plays, it's
fair.
a game.
I mean, that's fair.
Like, I agree.
Yeah. I mean,
their
last 3 games are at this moment against ranked teams. And I know it means nothing because I still don't think that Purdue should be ranked. But they are.
Yeah. Hey, Purdue is who they blew Ohio State out a little while back.
And I mean, right. Right. Michigan State and Michigan are the last 2 teams they play. And that will be, I mean, I'm not saying that those are going to be cakewalks for Ohio State either. But it'll be interesting. Very interesting. But I mean, you can't bet against Ohio State. That's the same reason I don't take anything against Tom Brady.
Yep. It's fair.
So I wanted to real quick talk about the Heisman, real quick. So who do you think would, and this is a really dirty conversation that you can get into with the Heisman, okay? But I think if Michigan State goes 10-2, Kenneth Walker III most likely should be, and again, you can't really predict Heisman stuff, but I think that Kenneth Walker III should be the Heisman winner.
They go 10-2. That means they beat at least Michigan, Penn State, or Ohio State. They beat one of those 3.
That's correct.
Which I would say probably,
and I think,
and also be competitive in the other 2 games.
Exactly. I think that
he needs to like rush. He needs to have
like
yards.
Kenneth Walker is
like the whole thing is he needs to be a difference.
We talk a lot about WAR, which is wins above replacement in baseball, right? Where like how many wins do you contribute to your team? If we had to talk about one guy that's irreplaceable on this Michigan State roster, it's Kenneth Walker III.
I mean, it's him. It's him, or it's who's their edge rusher?
It's not. The Xavier Henderson's the safety.
No, that's not who I'm thinking of. I'll find him while you keep talking.
But like I think that because Kenneth Walker III is the reason why Michigan State is in this predicament. I don't think that they win. I don't think that they win every game without him. Like they'll definitely have lost at least 1 or 2.
It's Pana.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, the dude whose name is impossible to pronounce.
Yeah, he's been great. Like to give you reference, Aiden Hutchinson on Michigan is probably going to go in the top 12 of the NFL draft this year, first rounder. He is now, granted, he's had an extra game, but even with the extra game, he's basically on par with or slightly ahead of Aiden Hutchinson is this Panasiuk on Michigan State. He's having a great year, and I like him a lot. So, I mean, Heisman is so difficult. I mean, really,
you can't really talk about it.
You can't. You need to see how the end of the year goes. I mean, you got to see how
what I like?
How does Matt Corral do? Which, by the way, there's a lot of, like, speaking of draft talk, which it's way too early, but, like, the Lions should not take a quarterback.
Oh, it's so hard to
There's
say.
no good
Obviously,
quarterbacks
they
in this
should
class.
not. Like, it's this QB class
Like
is
Matt
terrible.
Corral, here's the thing. I don't like, and I'm not a college scout, you know, so I'm not going to act like I know better than everyone. But Matt Corral is a very one-dimensional guy. He looks for his first read. If it's not open, he takes off. Like, that's very much his play style. He does not go through a progression. That's not going to work in the NFL. So, but he's been very good. And Heisman worthy, sure. But, like, it's kind of like how I view Devonta Smith, where it's like, he was a first-round pick last year, but he was in, like, he got taken by the Eagles at, like, he was outside the top 15, I think, or right around 15. So it's like Heisman winner doesn't automatically mean NFL product. It typically overlaps, but not always. But I think Walker's probably, he's up there. I mean, with how well he is produced as a running back, this hasn't been seen in a long time.
And
it really depends on how Michigan State does. They need to win 10 games, and if they do, they need to be competitive in the losses.
I think, like, also, too, like, and this is going to sound so wild, but I'm not afraid to say it. I haven't seen a running back this good at Michigan State since Le'Veon Bell. Like, I don't know how. Like,
100%. He's gonna get drafted.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And again, like, you talk about, like, Alabama, like, isn't the problem with them, like, their defense? Like, Bryce Young ain't no, like, dude, like, even though they lost to Texas A&M, like, he ain't no fuddy-duddy,
Yeah.
But real quick, too, I wanted to get into the college football playoff predictions. Now, I had two scenarios, okay? So first one's first. All right. So I think the Big 12 matters when in this, and this specific portion actually inspired the whole mailbag segment about college football because, like, I was thinking about this and I was like, what else can we talk about? But there was an ESPN Plus article that came out that said something. What does every contending team need to happen? And need to do in order to make the playoff? Like, what is the best case scenario for them? I mean, for teams like Michigan, they obviously got to beat Ohio State. If they don't beat Ohio State, they got to hope for some chaos with every other team involved and maybe a loss to Ohio State. Because the issue with Ohio State is, I mean, if you lose to the team that wins it, you lose to the team. But and say Ohio State loses to Penn State and Michigan, Michigan State, which is not hard to think about because Ohio State hasn't played anyone good yet, besides Oregon, who they lost to, and But anyway, so for a few teams, there's a few things that need to happen. One of them, namely, is Cincinnati. Cincinnati is ranked number 2 in the AP poll. They're in the AAC, not a Power 5 conference, so their strength of schedule is a little rough.
They're in the non-5.
Right, so like they have an easy schedule. The issue with that, though, is that they did play Indiana. There's not much more they could have done, except for being in a Power 5 conference, which they will be. The Big 12, unfortunately, because I don't know why you joined the Big 12, whatever. Anyway, so Cincinnati, in order for Cincinnati to have a clear way to the college football playoff, I think that no Big 12 team can be undefeated. So that's why I put these in 2 blocks, because I think it really depends on what happens, specifically because I can't predict what the committee's thinking. Anyway, to finish off, if Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, both atop the Big 12 right now, if either of them finish undefeated, no way I don't think that Cincinnati gets in, and I'm sorry to say that. I think that they should, but I don't think that they will. Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, whoever finishes undefeated will be in that conversation, along with Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. Normally, also, if Michigan was better, I would put Michigan here. But I can't trust Cade McNamara, and I can't trust that Michigan will, they haven't done anything to prove to me that they have made that level step. They haven't done anything to prove that to me. If there is no undefeated Big 12 team like there usually isn't, I would put Cincinnati in this with Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's hard because I said what I literally wrote was like Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma are like my three at this point, pretty much locks. I don't think any one of those teams don't make it in at this point, just because of like the Big Ten's only going to have one because of the way that the schedule is. Like Michigan's in the top 10, Michigan State's in the top 10, Ohio State's in the top 10, Penn State's in the top 10. I think Iowa's still in the top 10. Like Michigan's got to go against Michigan State. One of those teams lose. Michigan and Michigan State both got to go against Penn State. So, there's a combination there. And they also have to go against Ohio State. So, there's several, one of these teams is going to end with only one loss. And that team will go to the playoff, and that team, will go to the Big Ten Championship, most likely beat whoever the West sends. And then it will be, they will go to the title game. It is technically possible, although I don't think it'll happen, where let's say Michigan beats Michigan State, but then Michigan State beats Penn State, but then Penn State beats Ohio State. So somehow we have this weird thing where all these teams have 2 losses. I don't think that will happen. But yeah, I think it's Georgia. I think it's OSU, Oklahoma. And then it's one of 5 teams. I said Cincinnati could go undefeated, but and the reason I don't have Bama is because Georgia and Bama are going to meet in the title game. And I don't think Bama wins. I think Georgia
here's
wins.
My thing, too, okay? Now, if you were me, okay, there's a reason why Alabama lost to Texas A&M, but they only dropped to 5, okay? And I know that people were mad about that, okay? I'm not at all. I think that Bama's still a good team.
I understand. No, my thing is, here's the thing: if Bama wins the SEC title game, yeah.
But here's the thing: I don't think
see someone
Alabama.
There's no way you can have a 2-loss team not get in over a Pac-12 champion.
Okay, I also don't think that
if Oregon wins out and wins the Pac-12, they should get to go in instead of the loser of the SEC championship game that has 2 losses.
I mean, that's fair.
That and maybe that won't happen. So maybe as a prediction, this is a dumb idea, but that's what it should be. I've said, I've defended the 4-man playoff, but to be fair, this is a situation where a lot of people are arguing. I think that this is going to be and I know you don't want to hear this, but I think that this year is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I think that and I've never used that saying ever, but I think that this is where the floodgates open. I think that this is going to be the year where the expanded playoff is going to seem, for a lot of people, almost necessary. And I'm not on, I guess I don't care what happens, because college football has never been about playoffs unless you play in the FCS. But I've never, it hasn't ever, been a big deal. It's all been about bowl season, about conference championships. That's kind of the nature of college football. And I think because of that, I don't have as strong as an opinion on the expanded playoff. I would like to see a scenario where the Big 12 just goes bye-bye, and then you have 4 conferences, and all 4 champions just go to the playoff. Conference.
That is what makes the most sense.
That's what I want. That's what I want, Brad.
That is what makes the most sense. And I think that also,
because guess what? You know what you have there? As soon as you do that, if you get rid of the Big 12, if it dissolves, you have a Power 4 conference. We know we've talked about this before. You have 4 conferences. Guess what? You just made an 18 playoff.
And this too.
Win your division. And then you go to
this is also another thing that
conference title game,
that bugs,
and then you get into the
This
format.
is another thing that bugs the shit out of me about college football, is that we are for some reason giving credibility, and I'm arguing for Cincinnati, by the way, but I'm also going to make this point. I don't think that we should be giving as much credibility as we are to non-Power 5 teams. Like, I'm sorry, but like, why can you put SMU at 21? Can you really say that SMU is better than 21 through 25 or 22 through 25? No, of course not, because they don't play anyone all fucking year. And so like, why are we giving credibility to like non like power schools? You know, I feel like the only instance where you can put this in is where the schedule's more diverse in like college basketball, where like Gonzaga, like we know that they're good because they punish like every team, so we know that Gonzaga is a good basketball team. But like in football, you can't really do that because there's so many less games and there's so much less like room to do that. So I don't think that credibility should be given. Like, you want to win, you join a Power 4 school. And I think that putting the like putting there to be only like 4 conferences, I feel like that erases any doubt. Like, if you want to build a good program, you just join a conference that's good. Like, if you think you're good, then join a good conference. Like, I'm sorry, but we shouldn't be letting like all this arbitrary rules and stuff like dictate what the like rankings are and what the like who goes to the playoff and who doesn't. Because when you get a team like Cincinnati who has like just benefited off of their preseason ranking, that's literally all we're doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, like, and again, like, I think that Cincinnati, under current rules, like, if they go undefeated, I think that they deserve to be in the CFP. But at the same time, like, it shouldn't be that arbitrary. We shouldn't be just guessing who's good and who isn't, and then teams just miss out for no reason.
Yep, fully agree.
So,
yeah, so we'll see how it shakes out.
It's chaos.
I mean,
it really
it's kind
is
of
chaos.
A factor of it this year, especially. Like, normally it feels like it's always so clear cut, but with how, and we've seen a lot of losses. You know, Oregon lost, Ohio State lost, Bama lost. I mean, there's not a lot of lossless teams left, and like Michigan and Michigan State are both lossless, but like that's going to change on October 30th.
The Big Ten has really loaded their back of the schedule with like big power teams. You know, like Penn State Penn State scheduled a pretty rough game on September 18th. They put Auburn on the schedule. Like, they did a lot to sort of like, it might have been the detriment to themselves since they lost to Iowa, but then they got Ohio State, Michigan. They still got Michigan State to play. Ohio State, like we've talked about, still has Penn State, a ranked Purdue team, Michigan State. Michigan still has Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State. Like, they haven't played a single ranked opponent yet on their schedule. And then Michigan State, like the same thing, has played Miami, who now just got up to number 24 again, but they still have, Michigan State has 4 of the 5 teams they play are ranked right now: Michigan, Purdue, Maryland, Ohio State, and Penn State. So it's not like all the Big Ten East teams that are good have loaded the entire schedule. I don't know if the Big Ten did that on purpose, but the entire back of their schedule is all just good teams. So you're going to see like everything just even out at the end of the year.
Yep. No, I agree. But yeah. Anyway, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to talk a little bit of NFL, just a smidgen, and wrap it up with a little fantasy talk to end it, man. But yeah, we'll talk to you guys right after this break. Okay, Brad, you have decided you just want to cause me pain this week by putting this on the show sheet. I don't like you for this. I don't. Did I ever tell you that my first conscious moment of like that I can recall watching Michigan football was when I went to the Michigan Appalachian State game.
Yeah, I remember.
That was like my first conscious like remembering of like vividly watching a football game was when I went to that game, because it was my first one of my first in-person attendance sporting events that I could actually like remember. And then the same thing goes for the 2008 Lions. That was the first year I really remember watching football every Sunday. And it's probably because of the year, what it ended up being, right? And it's, I was like 8 or 9 at the time. That's kind of when you start getting into like your interest, and like I feel like that's when people really, like kids, start to really kind of watch football. So yeah, it's so you have on here. Now I'll let you. Why don't you ask the question, because I don't.
Okay, so yeah. So here's the thing, and I recognize this out of the gate. Okay, I think it was week 2 or 3 that I came up with this. I think I was talking to you about this after we were examining one of the Lions' losses. But this team, it was the week after they lost to Baltimore on that game-winning touchdown. Field goal. Sorry. So, do you think that the 0-16 Detroit Lions are worse than the 2021 Detroit Lions? And I'm gonna give you a quick stat, real quick. So the strength of schedule ranking in 2008 was easier than it was this. No, it was harder, I think, than it was this year. What was it? I think that the schedule was harder in 2008 than it is now. So that's fair. And in the NFL, it's a lot harder to lose every game because it's a professional football league, and if you lose every game, then you are the epitome of a disaster. And I mean, Cleveland did it too. So, but the 2008 Detroit Lions went 0-16. And I was reading about this. Their schedule is a lot harder than this one is. So I feel like the Detroit Lions now, and this is coming from me, the Detroit Lions in 2021 are worse than the 2008 team. And if the only reason they win a game is going to be because of the strength of their schedule and they like not being good. So which team do you think is worse?
I have to say the 08. Sorry. No. This team.
You think this team is worse?
The 08 team, which I guess you could say that about this team, but the 08 team, there's several things. One, they did not go into that season expecting to be bad. Right. Which I don't know if that's like better or worse. If you like at least this year, we knew the Lions were going to be bad. That was the expectation. Right. So it's like it's a hard question. Like, is Jared Goff a better quarterback than Dan Orlovsky? But by the way, that was not the starting quarterback, Brad.
Was it?
Starting quarterback was John Kitna.
Was it? Oh,
yeah.
My bad.
Kitna then got benched, and Orlovsky came in and had his infamous run out of the back of the end zone.
I was surprised about that. Like, I was reading it, and I was like trying to remember. I was like, "There's no way that Orlovsky was the starter."
Yeah, no.
Because I knew John Kitna was around that time. I just thought he left or something. I don't know what happened.
No, he got benched,
Remember
and then
when we had Drew
Orlovsky
Stanton?
did terrible, and Kitna came back in. It was an awful year. Which, by the way, like, so it's like. Yeah, like if you look at that 08 team, head coach Rod Marinelli, you had Orlovsky and Kitna shuffling in and out. You had Calvin Johnson on that team. You also had Kevin Smith, who he was a rookie. He was like a weird running back. He was like kind of efficient in my time watching him, but that was such a fever dream back then. Ernie Sims, who was a pretty good linebacker. Dan Campbell was the tight end of the team at that point. Which is also wild to think about. And then you look at 2021, you have head coach is Dan Campbell now, Jared Goff, who's been dog shit, but you got like DeAndre Swift, who is a fantastic running back. By the way, it's just a D apostrophe on
My bad. Well,
future reference,
thanks.
Brad. You have Hawkinson, who's a pretty good tight end, although he's had some injuries, and there's no wide receivers on this team, so. What do teams do? They lock down Hawk and Sox and then just, basically say, yeah, test us with your receivers. We don't think they'll catch it. And they don't. Or Goff just misses them. And the defense is a lot worse. I think the defense.
I think that's the main reason I think that this
way
team is
worse.
Because again, the team's just bad. They need to rebuild the entire defense. There's not a single. I don't think that when the Lions are ready to compete again, I don't think that there's a single defensive player that they will keep. Like, I'll say that right now. And so I actually read this one like this thing about, and I agreed with it, that TJ Hawkinson should be traded.
He should. It's not. Listen, people don't like to hear it. I don't, because
like, when are the Lions going to be good again? What are you gonna keep this guy? And
by the time they're going to be good, you're going to have to pay him a bazillion.
Why would you want to do that?
And I know the value of having a good tight end, but like, look at what other teams are doing, like the Bills with Dawson Knox, and
you know what I mean.
You don't.
That's the thing. You don't build around the tight end. Like, the tight end's not the guy that you keep when, like, you're ready to win or whatever. Like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, if I mean, as good as Gronkowski is, like, if I have him and no one else, I am selling him for someone good. Like, I'm gonna get like, I don't know. You could get defensive pieces. Could you not? Hawkinson?
Here's the thing. I don't want current assets. I do not.
You would get draft picks.
Trade
draft picks.
I want picks. Right. That's all I want. I don't want assets. I don't want current assets because
then you're just trading for shit. That'd be a bad idea.
Well, even whatever you're getting back is just, it's the same dilemma, right? Like, I don't want to trade Hawkinson because he's not good. That's in fact the entire reason I want to trade him, is he's good, and I want to get him off of us before he goes to free agency, because like, I don't think signing him to a high money deal is going to be worth it. Now listen, Hawkinson's the one I'm kind of like, okay, you want to keep him. He is a very good tight end. Fine, I'm not mad at it. I'm just throwing it out as an option. I wouldn't hate if they traded him, because I like the idea of giving Brad Holmes as many picks to work with. I do want to trade Taylor Decker. We have Penei Sewell. I want him to stay at left tackle. We can find a decent right tackle in free agency, or even in the mid rounds of a draft. But if I could get a first, like, here's the thing. You could trade Taylor Decker, get a first and a third, because like, people, like, everyone's like, oh, who would trade over Taylor Decker for a first and a third? Do you realize that, like, the Panthers, the Ravens, like, there's a lot of teams that have O-line issues right now that are going to give you a king's ransom for a Pro Bowl tight end.
Right.
Decker has been very good. He is definitely above league average. He is probably a top 10 to 12 left tackle. He has been one of the few bright spots on this team for the last 5 years. And I think it's very, like, teams are going to pay you the first and the third. So imagine you get an extra first round pick. You use the third round pick. Okay, you just got your right tackle if you got someone you like. And now you have an extra first round. Like, I just think that you want a war chest, or that first round pick then becomes useful to trade for a QB from another team. I'm not saying get Deshaun Watson, but do basically what the Rams did with Stafford and get someone like that back here. There's options. Draft capital gives you all of the persuasion, all of the opportunities. That's why it's so important to have draft capital. But no, if I had to pick, I think it's this year. Because I'm looking at like the 2008 record right now, and it's like, yeah, they got blown out in several games, but they were also like, several of these games they lost by a score.
Well, and
so they were in it.
I noticed that was a recurring theme with that 2008 team, and this is back. I was like 13 or something like that at the time, and I remember like noticing, and I was big about like stuff like this. I've always kind of been a little bit like picky about like stupid things, but every game it seemed, or like at least most of them, Detroit seemed like they were up at the half, and then all of a sudden they fall off a cliff. and they just never played a full quarter or a full game, I mean. And that was the issue that I kept having with the team, is that just they were never putting together a full product. And I don't think that it was a lack of talent. I think that it was a lack of coaching. I think that it was a lack of just an organizational failure. I think that the chances of that team at the beginning going 0-16 were ridiculously slim. I don't know if they just gave up and they were like, fuck it, let's get a first rounder, or a first overall pick. Like, I don't know if that was their deal or whatever. Like, if they just wanted Stafford that badly that they just decided, let's lose every game. But, or maybe they saw what the Patriots did the year before and they were like, fuck it, let's do that, but the opposite of it. So, it's just very it's very weird to see that team and think, wow, that was an 0-16 team, because they shouldn't have been. They should have won at least one game. They should have been there. They were there. And then all of a sudden you see that, but then you look at this team and you're like, this team is ass, and it's worse, and they have to replace every position. I don't think that there's a question that this team, and people are posing questions on Twitter now. Do you think that this team is worse than last? This team might be worse than the 2008 team. And it's yeah, of course they're worse. They suck. I've never seen such a bad professional football
team. Don't
get
me wrong. That 08 team was awful.
Oh, absolutely.
But this team is also awful. And the only thing I'll say with this team is they at least are playing hard.
Yeah.
That 08 team was just, it was this team is just talentless. That 08 team had some, they were not as drained of talent as this team is, but it was just bad coaching and really bad QB play. And this year it's just bad talent and bad QB play. But man, I don't want, I know it's really there's some wins that they could get after the bye, but man, it's really not looking good. The Lions are going to be 0-8 going into the bye week in week 9 because they're not beating the Rams
no,
this
not
week.
at all.
Stafford's going to come and spank them.
Not at all.
And I don't think they beat the Eagles. The Eagles are a much better team than I think people realize. And I don't think the Lions are going to be the ones to stop them. So, yeah, it's not looking good. Life is pain, but I know in a few years' time, I think as Lions fans, we're going to be.
I mean, to be honest, at least
we will be
the
happy.
Red Wings are undefeated right now.
Hallelujah, baby! I mean, not really.
They are.
They have not had a regulation loss.
Yeah, they've not had a regulation loss, which in hockey is different.
Listen, yeah, Detroit sports. This is probably, I would say, this might be the last year of excruciating pain, because the Lions are dog shit, but Tigers had a fun season. They were fun, at least, right? They won some games, and next year it's even better because Torque and Riley Green will be up. The Pistons granted, he's probably not going to play until the end of October, beginning of November, but the Pistons have Cade McNamara. They played tonight and went. They were within 2 points of Chicago with a minute left. They only lost by 4 points but the Bulls, who by the way are a much better team than they have been the last 5-6 years, and they played, from what it seems, very well. And some of their younger guys are playing. I actually think with Troy Weaver, I think about who our GMs are in Detroit, and it's okay, you got Steve Yzerman. The resume speaks for itself. He's great. Wings are going to win cups in future years because of him. You have Troy Weaver, who, granted, he got the gift of the lottery pick, being the number 1 pick this year, but I like some of his draft picks so far, and when he took over as GM, he stripped this thing down right. He got rid of the old guard, brought in the young guys. They tanked. Got the number 1 pick, and now you got Cade Cunningham. This team's going to be, I think this team the Pistons turn it around. And even, again, this year, we get to watch Cade play. We get to watch some of our other younger guys play who've also shown flashes of greatness. So there should only be on, the upslope now. And then the Tigers realistically should be too. I mean, again, we got Riley Green and Torque coming. Some of our younger guys who have developed are getting here. It sounds like they're gonna spend some money in the off season. We'll see. I still don't trust Alavila.
I mean, of course.
And then Brad Holmes, from everything so far, it's only one draft, and honestly, the draft picks are still, you still have to decide, at least on the late rounders. Penei Sewell is going to be fine, but so far, I like what Brad Holmes has done, and he might be the guy. Might.
Yeah, I mean,
Still
I think,
might.
to be honest, though, I think
but
that
like
he's
after
the guy.
this year, the Lions, a lot of the dead cap they're dealing with is gone.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to spend in free agency this year, except maybe get some more adequate wide receivers that aren't, Khalif Raymond. But I think next year, even though Goff will most likely still be our quarterback next year, I think we'll have a healthier O-line with Ragnow back, Penei Sewell having some playtime under his belt. I think he'll take another step forward. Hopefully Jeff Okudah can turn into something, although I'm not have high hopes on that. And whatever we do in the draft, we get Kayvon Thibodeau and some mid-late round guys. Next year, the Lions should be better. Not going to win a ton of games, but they probably win 5 or 6, I'm hoping. That's my expectation, win at least 5 next year. We'll see how the team looks. But at this point, like after this Lions season, all 4 Detroit sports teams should only be on the up, and we should finally start seeing the fruits of this tedious labor we have been dealing with. So, Lions fans out there, bear with us. We're almost there. Or really Detroit sports fans, we're almost there. And hey, even Michigan and Michigan State seem to be figuring it out in football. Michigan State's got Mel Tucker. They're going to be great again. And even Michigan, Harbaugh, for all of his faults, man, they have an identity. Defense is pretty good. And it's only going to get better. Offense is pretty good. The run game is fantastic. Offensive line is great. You have really good receivers. I mean, if Ronnie Bell wasn't out, this team would be a lot better in the passing game because Ronnie Bell is that good. And you probably get JJ next year or the year after. So there's a lot of hope right now in our Detroit sports lives, but still got this year we can, not with the Lions, but the other teams, we can enjoy some things. And next year, I think we really start seeing some of those results. And, that's exciting. So that's my little ramble on that. But, yeah, I do shudder at the idea of being the only team to go 0-16 and 0-17 and the first team to do both. We like to break all the wrong records.
Well, too, I also wanted to make one more comment about the Lions real quick, and I think that
yes, please do. I just went on a bit of a
that's fine because I did want to say real quick. I wish that that the Lions would have hired Brad Holmes and then let him hire a coach. I don't know if that would have been feasible.
I do agree with that.
I really think that that's the way they should have done because oftentimes what happens.
Well, and the thing is,
I don't trust the Lions to make the right coaching decision.
No, I don't either. And that will be interesting because I think what will happen is
he'll get fired.
I like Brad Holmes. I like Dan Campbell. I want him to be successful.
I mean, I'd love for him to be.
And like I said, I like his coaching staff. I do think though, like if let's say we're in year 3 or 4 and they're just not there. They're not doing what they need to do. They're not winning these games. They're close, but something is getting bungled in the end because of Dan Campbell's coaching decision or something. If that happens, but the team is talented and playing well, Brad Holmes absolutely stays and gets to hire his own head coach. That's absolutely what will happen if that's the situation. Now, if the talent's dog shit, then, that's a different story. But, I don't think it will be. And because of the fact that, Holmes didn't hire the head coach, he's going to get leeway on that. So, no, I think they definitely... if Campbell's not getting the job done and he gets fired, I think Holmes stays and they're going to say, all right, now you get your guy. and this will be, a judgment on you. And I think Holmes would love that. Not that he doesn't like Dan Campbell now, but I think he'd love to be able to pick his own guy.
Well, yeah, and I mean that too, because I think I could so much see though, because the Lions are a joke organization, but I could honestly see, and I don't know if they'll do this because I don't know, whatever. But I could really see the Lions meddling too much, oftentimes when big owners do, and trying to control the situation or fix the situation, and if they're not good enough, then not give Brad Holmes the
Mm-hmm.
leverage or the leeway to make those big decisions when it comes to the team. And I think that I honestly I would think if Brad Holmes wanted to fire him after year 2, I think you should be allowed, because what is this, a 3-year contract? What is this, 4 or 5 years? What are we talking here?
Dan Campbell's?
Yeah.
It's 6 years.
Okay, what if he hasn't done shit with the roster after? And I'm not talking about the roster itself, but after 4 years.
Here's the thing. So next year, I want to see
Improvement.
something. Yeah. I'm not expecting that this team is gutted.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm giving Dan Campbell
a couple years
this year. Just don't do any Lions things. And the few things I didn't like that he did, he has corrected.
Okay, yeah.
At least in his game time decisions.
Right.
And his
that's fair.
Post-game stuff, whatever. I don't care. I just don't care. I want on-field results. I don't care about the off-the-field stuff.
Yeah,
don't.
That's fair.
Until it affects the on-the-field stuff. Next year, I need to see some results. I'm not expecting you to win not even 7 games, because I understand you probably can't with that talent. But win some games you shouldn't. Kind of like this year, but you'll have better talent. So I think if he does his job, he'll win some games he shouldn't. He'll the second year guys take a really good step forward. The first year guys come out playing hard. That's what I want next year. And if if he doesn't do that and they are 1-16 next year, then yeah, you could fire him. Right. But I don't think they will. And then year 3, I need to see. You need to be fighting for a wild card spot.
Yeah, there's no question.
Because in the NFL, that's how quick it can be.
And it can be. You're right. You're absolutely right.
That is for me what the standard of success I am setting, because that's how long it should take. And like I said, even if they don't make the playoffs in year 3, if they were right on the edge, let's say similar to what happened to the Dolphins last year, you won 10 games, but you just didn't make it in. You win 10 games in year 3, you can stay. Especially again, what I know they inherited, that's a very good turnaround very quickly. Right. And then year 4, it's playoffs or bust. You got to make the playoffs. So that's where I'm at. I know we've talked quite a bit about the Lions, but
yeah,
I just keep seeing a lot of people talk, how bad they are this year. They're like, we should go get Gardner Minshew or put David Blau in for Goff or trade for a receiver. I'm like, guys, just this year's a loss. Stop. It doesn't matter if we win this year. Just hold on. Take your number 1 pick. Take Thibodeau or trade back if you want, whatever's the best option, and make good picks. That's the key to success. Build through the draft. So, all right, Brad, let's talk about fantasy. You had kind of a heartbreaker this week, right?
Yeah, it wasn't great. I lost only, and for one reason only, really. Literally.
Zach Pascal, baby.
Fucking hell. Hate him. What the fuck?
He has to be one of the most inconsistent,
Dude,
and granted, he is the definition of boom or bust with a heavy favoring towards bust.
Okay, look at this. Against, I'm going to read you off his stats. Okay, Seattle, 20.3 points. Rams, 14.8. And then week 3 against Tennessee, 5.1. Week 4 against Miami, 8.4. Baltimore, 7.8. Against Houston, he puts 0. He was targeted once.
And you only needed 6.
He was targeted
you needed very little.
Once.
Yeah. It's a shame. Like, that's a rough one, and I feel bad for you. I really do.
I'm so mad. Like, it's not even that he couldn't do anything. He wasn't given any opportunity.
And you also have a rough week, that like your bye weeks. And everything.
Yeah, this week's not great. So what I ended up doing. So I have right now. I got Amari Cooper, Justin Herbert, and Marvin Jones on buys. 3 of my like 5 best players. But then I still got DK Metcalf out there. I got back Kenyon Drake. I did that. So I got him back,
like
and he put up 21 points.
Because I'll tell you this:
game.
ever since John Gruden left, Raiders are utilizing Kenyon Drake a lot more.
I love
I think
that.
That's a good.
So this might save my season because he got.
Plus, he's the pass catcher, and you're in a PPR league, so he's valuable for that alone.
He got 21 points in his last game. He's projected to get 7 this week against Philly. Not a big deal. But then I have Tua. I got Tua. I dropped Mac Jones because I was nervous. So I got Mac Jones and put him against. I got Tua. I put him against Atlanta for Herbert's bye week. And then I got Kenyon Drake. And got Giovanni Bernard the fuck out of the starting position. And I also didn't even worry about Latavius Murray.
He's also boomer, but he's touchdown or bust.
And then I got AJ Green in there for some fucking reason because what am I gonna put in? Zach Pascal?
Yeah, in your league it's hard.
Right, so that's because AJ Green and Sammy Watkins are in there to replace the bye weeks. And then I got Tua. The worst part is, though, next week I got Sammy Watkins on a bye. Obviously not going to start him. Kenyon Drake's on a bye, so I'll have to start, like, another... I might start Murray, but he's on a bye, so what the fuck? So I'll have to start someone. So I don't got a running back that week.
Or try to get, like, a waiver wire ad that can help you for a week.
Because...
and you never know. An injury could happen, and you could get
Mark
someone on
Andrews
waivers. You never know.
Also on a bye.
This week or next week?
So
yeah, that'll be tough for you. That's the hard week. See, that sucks because I'm going against a guy I would have loved to have gone against him on Mark. Yeah, he has Mark Andrews. So I got to pray Mark Andrews has a bad week for my team.
Right.
So, yeah, for me, I had. I don't know if I want to say a lucky week. I had a decent week. I won 123 to 117. It was close. I was pooping my pants a little bit because I had Justin Herbert, I had Mike Williams, 4.7 points and 11 points for those two. Not good. But I got saved by several things. Also, DJ Moore only had 10 points. He was, he should be producing more than that. And he had several drops throughout the game. It was a weird game for Carolina. And I have a feeling a lot of those receivers are holding on to footballs this week at practice. But, DeAndre Swift got me a garbage time touchdown, which helped a ton. Ended up being a key factor in winning. Darrell Williams was my MVP, scored 23.9 points with 2 touchdowns. He has been great, and honestly, I think with how the Chiefs play the game, he might be the better back over Clyde Edwards-Helaire when he comes back from IR. So we'll have to see. I had Kamara on bye, by the way, last week. It was, I think, just the Saints and Falcons were on the bye last week. So, and then Jared Cook was also very good because he got the 1 touchdown from the Chargers, so he got 12 points, which was huge. Again, was probably the difference between me winning and losing. And then Cortland Sutton, great game, set like bunch of catches, 94 yards, touchdown, got me 23. My defense, I had the Colts defense against Houston. That's also a good strategy. Pick the team that goes against Houston for your defense. Seems to work out pretty well. They won 31-3, so my defense got 11 points. And then my kicker, Matt Gay, got 8 because I think he kicked like 5 extra points in the game and 1 field goal. So, and the guy I was going against, he had some decent players. His running backs was really his weakest point with Melvin Gordon. And Alex Collins had a good game, in all fairness. But, Yeah, he couldn't catch up. He had Tyler Boyd only get a point. It was kind of a rough week for him. But, hey, we take a win when we take a win. And I'm kind of in the same boat as Brad. I obviously have Mike Williams. I had Jared Cook, and I had Justin Herbert. So they're all on buys. And I only had Jared Cook because I had George Kittle, and George Kittle has been on IR. So whenever he comes back, he'll be in the starting lineup, which hopefully is, I think, next week, which will be helpful because his bye week has already gone by as well. So this week, I got Tua. I got Alvin Kamara back in the lineup. DeAndre Swift as my RB2. DJ Moore is still there. Cortland Sutton has been moved up into wide receiver slot 2. I picked up Ricky Seals-Jones, who is tight end 1 for Washington. He had a good game last week. He's going to get up. He's going to get all the snap count and all of the passing, targets over any other tight end, and they're using him somewhat frequently. So he's the starter for me there. And then for flex, because Marvin Jones is also on a bye, it was either Henry Ruggs or Darrell Williams. I put Darrell Williams in my flex. I think they're going to keep using him on those short goal line situations for running downs. I think he's a good runner. They will utilize him in the passing game sometimes. So I got him in my flex. I typically don't put running backs in flex, but doing it this week. And then Saints D, Matt Gay kicker. Nothing crazy there. Actually, why do I have the Saints defense? Oh, okay, that's why. Never mind. Answered my own question. But yeah, man. Hopefully it goes well. I'm praying to God that I can pull something out of my ass and keep a win. The only good news is the guy I'm going against has Amari Cooper, who's on a bye, and he also has Nick Chubb, who's out. So those are 2 less guys. But he's got Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, I mean, I love him, obviously, for obvious reasons. Like, you told me, I remember in our fantasy preview, you had told me, like, he was the stud to get and at, like, tight end, and he was available where I was taking him, and I loved it.
Here's the thing. He's better than Hawkinson, and he's been better than Kittle. I mean, Kittle's been hurt, and even without the injury, he's outproduces Kittle because Baltimore is a little bit more pass heavy.
Yeah.
So I wish I took him instead of Kittle. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, God, I can't believe I got him in round 5 too.
Yeah. Yeah, Gronk is he's been injured, but man, he's still going to produce.
And that's the thing,
so is he back?
Well, so look at this. I got that's the thing. I don't know. So I got I'm just looking back on this. I got Mark Andrews in round 5, and then I got Gronk in round 10. Talk about a steal. But
the fact that you got Andrews that late. I mean, I think the big thing is people thought, oh, well, the Ravens aren't, they don't have like a crazy passing game, but then all the running backs got hurt, and Lamar has to throw it, and he's a good passer. I don't care what anyone says; he's a good passer.
And I think like Gronk, by the way, he's been surprising, but he's good. He's supposed to be back this week. Theoretically, the Tampa Bay does not have a lot to lose by sitting him or whatever. So they might play him. They might decide to sit him for another week just to have him
make sure that injury is fully healed.
So I'll probably have to check back and make sure that like no ridiculous like game time decision is messing me up or whatever. But it's one of those things like because again like they don't have much to lose. I think they're playing who are they playing? New Orleans? No. God, who? Oh, they're playing Miami. Are they playing Miami?
No, Miami's going against the Falcons.
Then they're going against Philadelphia, Chicago. Which week are we on?
We're week 7.
They're against the Bears. So I guess
yes,
the Bears are beatable, right? I guess. I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, if you're New England,
easily.
do you play him or you wait?
Bears have a rookie quarterback. Like,
Right.
they'll be fine.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that they have much to gain by playing him. Like, they could beat
By
them
putting him out
without
there.
Gronk.
Yeah. No, I fully
So,
agree.
I don't know.
I think that's correct. So, yeah, but hey, we'll check in next week, man. But I gotta say, after 2 losses, I've won 4 straight to come back to 4-2. I'm in second place in my division, 4th in the conference. I'm in the playoffs currently. Just gotta keep it rolling, baby. Keep it rolling.
Yeah, I mean, after what was I doing? After what was it like I had 3 straight wins and then I lost twice in 3 weeks. So that was not fun. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Anyway, Griff, are you ready to wrap up?
Let's yeah, I was gonna say, man, this has been a long episode, but it was a good one because I think we both had a lot we wanted to talk about with how everything's going in the football, in the sporting world in general, man. So yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up.
Awesome. Griff, do you have anything else that you want to say to the people? I know you got a lot on your mind.
No, man, I think the only thing I want to say is be smart with your bets. Don't gamble what you can't afford to lose. Or was the same. Don't gamble what you like. Basically, only gamble with what you're okay with losing.
Right. Well, exactly.
Because if you lose it,
then
you
it's
didn't
gone,
need it.
right?
Yeah. So do that. Good luck in the Buy NATO week in your fantasy. Be kind to each other because at the end of the day, guys, this is just sports. It's all for fun. And fuck the Packers.